I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, Toto. I always tell people you can find clay anywhere you are in the world. And I often get this back where they say, that's easy for you to say, you live in Arizona. But I just don't think that's true. I really think where I live has about as much clay as about anywhere else. You just have to know what to look for and where to look. So today, as you can see, I'm not in Arizona. I'm in Montana. So this will be a great opportunity to kind of show you how I find clay in an unknown location, in a place where I'm not familiar with the local geology or the environment at all. So I'm going to go through the process with you, how I would go about locating clay someplace where I've never been before, and show you how really clay is just about everywhere. Although, you know, I'm still in the western United States. Granted, this is a lot different from a lot of other places on Earth. I'm also over 1,000 miles from Arizona, so it's quite a bit different from where I live. Let's get going. I started out by just looking at Google Maps. I looked at the satellite view and then I scanned all around the surrounding area, looking for any place where I could see those layers of strata, places where I saw colors that kind of were vibrant and reminded me of perhaps clay. I can also see the texture of the land. I can kind of see how it's eroding. And sometimes from those aerial views, you can distinguish between rocks and soil. And clay has a specific texture, a specific way it erodes that you can kind of look for. Now, these are a little advanced concepts to teach in a video, but I just wanted to let you know how I started. I started out by looking at the Google Maps and kind of looking at the surrounding terrain. That way I could identify a specific place where I wanted to go out and look for clay. So here I am today out on a place called Dead Man's Road near Miles City, Montana. So my son lives in Miles City. I'm visiting him. I wanted something that was relatively close to town. This is, I think, 12 miles out of town, something like that, so not too far. The other thing out here is it's just been raining and cloudy day after day after day. I've been waiting for a sunny day to film a video on for a couple of weeks, and it's just obviously not going to happen. So I'm just going to take the cloudy weather as it is, and, you know, maybe that'll reinforce that I'm not in Arizona, right? The clouds, because in Arizona, I can always wait a couple days if it is cloudy and get some sunny weather, which is, you know, a little nicer to film in. At least it's not hot out here, though. It's really comfortable. The other thing is I had a little car trouble with my truck as I was driving from Arizona up to Montana. And so my truck is in the shop, and the Ford dealership gave me this little loaner car, which I think is a Ford Escape. So I really appreciate that. That's what I'm using to get around and look for clay today. So my limitation is, one, I've got this car. I don't have a high clearance vehicle, so I obviously can't go up any rough roads. The other thing is, most of this is private land. Unlike Arizona, where there's lots of public land you can go out and collect minerals on. Around here, it's mostly private land. So I'm going to be restricted to roadsides, which is the case, I know, with a lot of you in other parts of the country. So I'm looking at roadsides. I'm specifically looking to find a white clay, if I can. And like I said, I can't go up any really terrible roads because of the car I have. Wow, look at this. It looks like something in northern Arizona, up around the Painted Desert, petrified forest area. Those layers of different colors, that is amazing. Not something I was expecting in Montana. So my question is this white clay? I think the top level has more clay than the bottom part. You notice the crackly texture towards the top? But I also think it has a lot of silt or some other non-plastic material in it, given the texture of it. This particular lump is on the other side of this barbed wire fence, so I'm not going to climb over there to find out. But I also don't think I'm missing anything, given the texture of the material. If it was really good and you wanted to test it, you could maybe jump over the fence really fast and collect some, and hopefully a rancher wouldn't come along and yell at you, but given what that stuff looks like, it's not worth the risk. You can tell by this crackled texture that there's a lot of clay in this material, but you can tell by the feel that it has a lot of silt in it as well. The way I can tell that is when I rub it between my fingers, I get kind of a powdery, dirty feel. If it's really pure clay, you don't get that. It has kind of a waxy or a soapy feel, but it won't feel powdery. So it might be some decent clay, but you're probably going to need to levigate it before you can use it. And in among the clay here, there's a lot of these iron nodules. all the way up, there's chunks of this iron you can see along here. And I know that if you experimented with it, you could probably find some of these chunks of iron that are soft enough to use for paint. So this would be great. You could get your clay and your paint right here in the same spot. Signs that I'm looking for here that show this is clay. We can see a track here. I don't know if it was maybe a cow or a human. Somebody stepped here and it held that track for a long time. That tells you it's clay. You got that crackled texture on the ground. Again, when I feel it in my hands though, it has a powderiness to it that I know it's got a lot of other things in it. So still might be good usable clay, but would need to be purified quite a bit. And then look up here, more of that iron. There's yellow and dark colored bits. I'm sure if you spent some time looking around in all that iron, you could find some that made good paint. But let's keep going to the next spot because I don't think there's anything here that's what I'm looking for. All right, here's the good stuff. This is what pure clay looks like. See how it breaks into these strange angular fragments? It's exactly what pure clay looks like. And when you touch it, sometimes it can be a little waxy or soapy. This isn't, but also it isn't powdery and dirty feeling. It doesn't feel silty at all. This is relatively pure clay. And there's a thin layer of it right up there. So as you look in these layers, don't be put off by the first clay you see. If you keep looking around, you might find a layer of pure clay. So this looks really good. I would take this home and use it if I was looking for clay in Montana. But the main thing I'm looking for here today is white clay. And because this is gray, I'm gonna move on. Oh, this is real interesting. Let me show you this real fast. You see that white material down there? It looks like white clay, but it isn't. Let me show you. So this is a pretty common occurrence. You see the white color, you see the crackled texture, white clay, right? Not true. Once you dig through it, it can be brown or any color. So what happens a lot of times is this alkali crust will form on the top of the clay, while the clay itself underneath is not white at all. So that when you look at it up close, you can see that white material. It's just a thin layer at the very top. So it's easy to get fooled. Now this could be the material I was looking at on the Google satellite view. So I might have been duped into coming out here in the first place. I just don't know. I'm going to keep looking, but it's possible that there is no white clay out here at all. And what I was seeing was this alkali on the surface. But again, this clay is not white.
Give me a microphone. These boys is not white.
And I probably don't want to use a clay that's got a lot of alkali in it anyway. Look at that. Look at that yellow ochre. That'd be great for any pot. That stuff would fire a nice bright red. There's a whole layer of it in here. There's quite a bit of yellow in this area. That'd be great for a pot. Yellow always fires the brightest red.
I'm coming home. Leave open the gate. Don't turn off the light. I'm coming home.
I think overall it's been a big win. There's a lot of clay out here. A lot of really decent looking gray clays out in this area. Now I came out here looking for white clay and I haven't found any of that. So, although I'm going home with nothing today, I think I've proven my original point that we talked about when I started this video, and that was that there's clay everywhere, that you can find clay no matter where you live in the world. And that is proved true, at least here in Miles City, Montana. Obviously, there's a lot of other places in the world. There's a lot of other situations, But, think about the sandiest place you can think of, right? Florida. I have students in Florida who are finding amazing clays. And if you go back and look at the prehistoric pottery in Florida, the ancient people made some amazing pottery in a sandy place like Florida. So I have to think almost anywhere in the world you can find decent clay. And I think some of the things I've talked about here today are really applicable anywhere you go, the same sorts of things you're looking for. So get out there. You have to get out there and spend some time in the field, looking around, trying different things. Once you realize what you're looking for, once you realize what clay looks like in the wild and where it's found, you're going to find a lot more of it. And once you start noticing it, you're going to start seeing it everywhere. At least that's been my experience. Now, if you need some help kind of figuring out what clay looks like and how to find it, how to go about testing it, I've got a really great in-depth master class, Wild Clay 101, that goes into the whole thing. It'll explain the different types of clay, it'll explain where they're found, what are the telltale signs that there's clay, how to test it, how to process it, the entire thing. And it's a really great way to get started using wild clay. I'll put the link to that class here on the screen and down in the doobly-doo, so go check that out if you're interested in learning more about finding and processing your own clay. I appreciate you coming with me today. I'll catch you next time.